Alrighty, what is going on, everyone? Welcome to another exciting episode of the Wealth 28 Lounge podcast. I am your host, Cypress from CypherX Superior Trading, joined today by my co-host, as always, Mr. Aquaman. What's going on, brother?
What up, everyone? What's going on, brother? Happy for everyone
Today,
tapping in.
Today we have a really special guest. We have a gentleman behind the scenes of Fruition Productions. Chris, what's going on, brother? How are you today?
Good. Good. We're very excited, and thanks for having us on the program.
Absolutely, man. Yeah. So here, as always, ladies and gentlemen, at the Wealth 28 Lounge podcast, our mission is to delve into the stories that never get covered by the mainstream media, keeping you all in the loop in Web3, global trends, the fourth industrial revolution, and the world of entrepreneurship. Make sure that you do us a favor and you head over to our Rumble platform at CypherX Uncensored. You follow us on Rumble, which is where we are going to be uploading these live discussions. So that way you can share them with your friends and family members. Make sure you do us a favor and also go and follow Fruition Productions on Twitter and Mr. Aquaman on the X Space as well. So let's jump into this conversation that we have today. I kind of wanted to just touch on some of the talking points that we were just discussing offline about how we're in this evolutionary process right now in the digital asset ecosystem, a very interesting turning point where we're on the brink of potentially experiencing mass adoption, not only in the form of financial institutions, but also in the form of another retail wave. And I think what you all are doing with this documentary, we were talking offline about what potential platform you're going to be airing this on, and that possibility could be on a major platform like Netflix, is really phenomenal for the space as a whole. Regardless if investors are for XRP or against XRP, it still contributes to this adoption cycle that we are currently living through, where we're on the precipice of experiencing the next billion users into this space. And I find it very interesting because I've been in crypto since 2017, and we didn't have things like documentaries to enlighten us on some of the things that are going on in the crypto space. So just kind of talk about, if you don't mind, how you got into crypto, when you started investing in this space, and what the market space looked like when you first initially onboarded into this ecosystem.
Yeah, well, I have to give credit where credit's due. My wife, Maya, who her and I appear commonly together in interviews, she is the one who got us into crypto. She was the one who's like, hey, I had I had always heard of Bitcoin. I'd heard of crypto in passing in the 2015, maybe even as early as 2013. I had heard something about Bitcoin, but I was just like, yeah, whatever. Somebody bought a pizza with 150 Bitcoin or whatever. There's like these early stories of Bitcoin coming around. It wasn't until about 2018 or so that we got into, started buying crypto. We bought Bitcoin, was our entry into the ecosystem. And then from there, we started looking for assets that were kind of like, okay, I wonder what else is going to be moving in the space, what has utility. And that's where we learned about Ethereum, and actually did a little bit of Ethereum mining back when it was proof of work, before it was proof of stake. So built custom computers to go mine. I'm like, you can make money with your computer? I mean, if you can't tell my background, I'm kind of a nerd, okay? Like, you can't make money with computers? That's sick. Turn on your computer and make money. How awesome is that, right? So I was all about it. I was all about how to figure out that. And then we, in the 2020 time range, started getting onto all the meme coins, because it's like, this is just blowing up. Like, it's all over. So we did a little ride with Doge, kind of rode it too long. A lot of people rode that too long. Like, Elon Musk is on SNL. I was literally had a party at our house, and we had like a big screen with like the price of Doge. We're like, yeah, this is gonna be great, and then like kind of just went down. And I was like, all right, that's the last time I'm gonna count on like just a random person telling me how to invest, or like people, the collective consciousness of the internet or whatever. And then we traded some Shiba, made some epic trades there. But this time around, I did my own math, reverse engineered where can I go, what can I do? And then after that, I was like, all right, no more of this. Like, no more of these random coins.
Yeah.
Like, I need to get something with a legit utility. So that was around 2021. We started, after we did our Shiba run, we kind of moved over most of our bag to XRP because that was a real company, real mission, clear as day is what we were doing. And that was kind of our journey into crypto. And that's where we remain today. We pretty much remain as majority XRP holders. There's a couple other smaller projects, but I don't really do meme coins or any kind of random. I've already been there.
You kind of. It's very interesting. You talked. I want to highlight on a couple of things that you said before I let Mr. Aquaman take it away. Your entry originally into this space was obviously, of course, the number one digital asset as of right now, Bitcoin, which the vast majority of individuals can probably relate. You hear about, the top performing assets like Bitcoin or Ethereum when you first get in, but then you kind of start to dabble in and you're like, wow, there's a whole world that needs to be opened when you come into this space via the form of projects that you can invest in and some of the different use cases and different forms of utility that each of these digital assets bring. I think diversification is extremely important for any of you all listening. Research is extremely important on your independent journey into this space to really see the opportunities and the potential that you can really come about by investing in this new ecosystem. Again, not financial advice. I can relate though when you said internet money and making money on your computer, because I invested back in 2017. I was significant enough to experience some of that significant price appreciation. And then 2 years after that, COVID happened and I had a big chunk of money from, that cycle. So I was able to pay off my debt. I was able to financially, I guess you could say, support myself to the point where I was like, okay, everything's getting locked down. People are losing their jobs because of COVID and whatnot, and da. I'm going to quit my job and become full-time entrepreneur. And I had enough capital to do that. And that's when I started my heavy process and flow into taking on trading and really realizing like you don't need a 9-to-5 job to make sustainable income. You could be an entrepreneur and really make internet money, whether it's in the form of trading, starting an online business, investing in digital assets, so on and so forth. And then that process of being locked down during 2020 and 2021 really ignited that for me. So I can relate there. What about you, Prince? How did you get involved in digital assets?
Man, it was, again, it was, a friend telling me about digital assets and then not really paying too much attention to it. And then getting a DM from a fake account from a Coach JV fake account. And I just literally went down I binge watched all of Coach JV's videos on just the space and everything. And then one thing led to another. I started looking into this social influencer. I looked at a lot of social influencers in the very, very beginning. And like, I was letting my intuition and my soul kind of weed out like who I thought was like, maybe just like shilling, even though I didn't know what shilling meant at the time. And then like who was really bringing some actual facts and point me in the direction of like, oh, wow, like this is actually really happening. This is not someone just trying to pump up some coins. You know what I mean? And, yeah. And then it went from there, man. Every single day since that moment, I bleed, breathe, and sleep crypto, bro. Like literally every single day. So, yeah.
Yeah. I think that the people that don't live, breathe, and sleep and eat crypto they're going to miss out on a very large opportunity. We were kind of talking offline, Chris, about the innate price action on the digital asset XRP. Before we kind of get into the talking points that Mr. Aquaman has, what would be one thing that you would say to listeners about the nascence of, or the lack thereof, of the price action of the digital asset XRP or any other utility assets, especially in the face of meme coins pumping? Like, zoom out, see the bigger picture, see where this market's really headed. Since you were heavily invested in meme coins at the beginning of your journey and now have transitioned to utility, kind of talk a little bit about why that might be or what perspectives you have now compared to when you were investing in meme coins.
I mean, meme coins are a casino. It's a slot machine, right? So the meme coin and or pump and dump schemes are all really kind of the same thing. It's money in and exit liquidity out. So basically, for anyone who's thinking about that, you have to, I mean, that's all market timing, right? Because a meme coin has no utility. So really what you're counting on is more people buy the thing after you do for a higher price, and that you sell before they sell before you. Like it's not really a wise investment. I'm not a financial advisor, and I don't think that we're not really covering meme coins in the documentary at all. It's not really, that's why we're talking about utility.
Yeah.
But I think it's know what you hold. Would you rather hold, something that can actually, a company that can build applications and develop, would you rather hold Google, or would you rather hold a sheet of paper? What do you want? Right?
That's a great comparison. Yeah, I agree completely. I think that if people are going to invest I'm not against investing in meme coins, because a lot of people from my private community make a lot of money on meme coins.
They do. It's possible. I did it too. But
yeah, I just think that if you're going to be investing in meme coins, you need to understand what type of investment you're making, and it should be, again, not financial advice, more short term. And investing in utility is more so long term. Understanding that utility assets will most likely be the top performers in the long term, 5-10 years from now, whatever your long term projection is.
Yeah.
And if you're going to be investing in meme coins, it should be more so intraday trade, swing trading, taking profit on those pumps. Because, like Chris just said, you never really know if they're going to be rug pulled. Like Pepe was trending hardcore. And like, if you literally go on the Pepe website, it says this coin has no intrinsic value. So what's that future going to look like for that digital asset when utility really kicks in and speculation on meme coins kind of stops, which we don't really know when that's going to be. But when everything transitions over into this utility era, which we all know is coming eventually, it's going to be interesting to see how it all plays out.
Facts, man. And dude, I had a come into Jesus moment in my journey, because I had probably, I don't know, maybe 15% of my portfolio in meme coins when I first got into crypto, because I was kind of falling for it as well. Like, oh snap, we could become multimillionaires off of this. And I was just like, I was in the beginning looking at the meme coins as lottery tickets. And then, like I'm saying, I had a coming to Jesus moment, and I was like really looking at my portfolio, and I was like, look, I need to have a majority of this in pure utility. No matter if it's this project or this project, it needs to be in utility, because at the end of the day, these meme coins, like, I don't know what the long-term future has for these things at all. Nobody does. But if I could put my money on something, I would rather put it on some utility. You feel me? So
something that's going to change something that's going to make a difference, and not just be some speculative pump and dump. Like Chris was saying, Ripple, the company, at the end of the day, I found a document the other day that literally states that Ripple is one of the only blockchain based companies, the only technology providers that has regulatory clarity in this space to actually facilitate some of the things that it's doing. That's monumental. Not a lot of people really pay attention to that because of the lack thereof of price action on the digital asset XRP. They bring emotions to the game instead of zooming out and really seeing, like, none of the price action that we're experiencing right now, if you're a long-term investor, really matters, because these financial institutions and these large organizations, they're not really onboarded fully into this Web3 ecosystem yet. Like barely at all. And so if you can really understand that by zooming out and just doing some simple research, and you can see where the space is headed, which is a digital future, where we can make cross-border transactions seamlessly, effectively, and efficiently. XRP is one of those digital assets that's really fit for purpose to play that role, right?
So, facts. Well, Chris, I want to speak a little bit about the journey of your documentary, and so can you, just share some insights into the evolution of the journey of filming this documentary about XRP? Like, bring us to the very beginning on how it all started, and what were some significant milestones that came along the way.
Well, I mean, it starts with being a holder of the coin, and wanting to know what you hold. And I think that's great advice, no matter what it is, whether it's a stock or a crypto technology. Trying to know everything you can for your own investment strategy. And then, again, credit goes to my wife, Maya, who was engaged with the community, talking to folks about, XRP. And she, was talking to lots of folks in TikTok and various social spaces. She turns to me one day and she's like, this would make a great topic for us to do a story about. And I was like, you know what, you're right. It would be amazing, and so credit goes to her for kind of kicking off that thought pattern. And I was like, then once you get me on an idea, I'm like, let's go, let's do this for real. And I'm very action oriented. So we started right away, started thinking about who does she know? Like, so, network out, like, who does she know? She knows these few people. And so we started with those individuals. Aquaman, you were one of them.
Yeah. Very fortunate.
We started with Graham Glam and with Rico, the crypto guy. And then one of you, I don't remember who, knew Coach JV, and we were fortunate enough to bring him in, and we started filming really in December of last year. So it's not like it's like been this like, some productions I hear about, like, we've been working for 3 years. I went to the documentary, This Is Not Financial Advice. I went to their premiere here in Los Angeles, and they'd filmed that back. It's about the Dogecoin millionaire, who isn't, I don't know if he's a millionaire right now, but he might be because of his social media presence. He's a nice guy, by the way. I like him quite a bit. And that film had been filming from 3 years ago. And I was like, one thing I know for sure is that 2024 is an incredible year for transformation. So you obviously you ask yourself as a filmmaker, like, why this story now? And I was like, this has to be told right now. And then before we started filming anything, I should mention that we kind of did research. We looked at other documentaries. What's out there? What has been made so far? And it was like, I don't like anything that's been made so far, to my tastes, right? There's a lot of Bitcoin documentaries, a couple okay ones, but then when you go outside of Bitcoin, there was really kind of a vast nothingness other than sort of, we'll call it DIY projects on YouTube. Now, no offense to DIY projects. I think people are just trying to make the most with what they can. But I was like, oh, we need to tell this story. Because, each of us, I think, and those of us who listen to these kind of programs, we're kind of the default crypto person a lot of the time in our family. We're like, we are the one crazy person who's like,
everybody looks at like we have a problem.
Yeah, you're the crypto guy. I'm like Mr. Hollywood. From my family. They just think, oh, there he is, crypto guy coming in with a thing. And I was like, how am I gonna break through, like help these? Well, if the TV says it, it's real. Anyways, I'm just trying to make that high quality storytelling awareness through the lens of XRP, of the digital transformation that's taking place all around us across many sectors, and in the regulatory environment, the challenges that Ripple has had, which makes for a good story. So anyways, one thing led to the next. It's always network effect. Maya was very selective with who she brought in. We tried to stay to the light side of crypto. There's a lot of maxis, and there's a lot of folks that kind of are on the dark side of crypto. Drama, trolls, like things like that. And so we just tried to gravitate towards the light. We tried to gravitate towards the folks that were a little more positive, and a little bit more like trying to really do a good thing, coming from a good place. And then from there, we were fortunate enough to have those intros made out to the different individuals. So we were fortunate enough to interview John Deaton. And from there, he helped us connect with various folks in the community. We were fortunate enough to interview with Jimmy Valley and Bahill Capital, and that whole community. And then from there, connect out to the developers. So, it's continued to kind of go one place to the next. With our next stop on the train is really, we're trying to reach out to regulators in the space, people who are actually trying to do something about regulation. People, even if they're doing it academically, like, a professor from Stanford who happens to be like, here's the way you can do the safe harbor 2.0 or whatever it is. Right. Yeah. And then legit companies that are starting to move their investment portfolios into crypto. So companies that are doing digital wills, digital trusts, digital IRAs, companies that are doing, real utility in the ecosystem, along with the investment firms like Grayscale, BlackRock. We don't have them yet, but we want to have those kind of that are adjacent to the traditional banking system come in and provide their expertise. So that's kind of where we're at.
I think that's a really good perspective to have. Is like, a lot of people behind the scenes, they see all this social media stuff and they see what's projected to them on Twitter and YouTube, and then they don't really see like this transformation is happening regardless if you see it or not. Like, major organizations all over the globe from all aspects and every niche are about the transition over to blockchain, distributed ledger technology, artificial intelligence, data analytics, cybersecurity. Like, it's a digital transformation package. And like, it's at the point right now where businesses and organizations, or even individual persons that don't migrate will fall behind. Like that's where we're at right now. And yeah, zoomed out, it's going to take some time. Don't get me wrong. It's not going to be an overnight process like all these influencers make it out to be. But when it really kicks off and we get to that point, we're going to look back and be like, wow, you were either a market participant or you weren't. And that's what it's going to come down to. To capitalize on one of the things that you said, I think it's really cool because back in my early days, I call it early days, 2017, so on and so forth. I always thought, I was like, I wonder if anybody's ever going to make a film on another digital asset outside of Bitcoin. And here we are, and I'm discussing and talking with you, which is really cool.
Yeah.
But then also the harmonization between a husband and a wife. I think it's really cool that you guys are the ones working on this project together, and you can really see the fruits of your labor pushing through, finding people to interview, going through the process of building this for the world. It's a really good contribution. Again, regardless if people are for the digital asset or against the digital asset, XRP, it will bring awareness to the space in some way, shape, or form. And just like you mentioned, some people need that mainstream way of onboarding into this space, watching it from TV or from some mainstream source to be like, oh, I should probably pay attention to what's going on, and hopefully that will bring more adoption and more awareness into this space. So I think it's really cool what you guys are doing. Great story.
Yeah, I mean, it's super complicated, right? Like the story itself, even as somebody in the community that has learned what we can, I even am like, whoa, I gotta slow down. I gotta take this story step by step so that a new audience can learn it, which is why we've shown a slightly larger canvas in this latest trailer we dropped, because we just want to help people see the story. Like, my editor and I, we joke, like we show our trailers to our parents. And so the last trailer we had, which was more kind of like about ETHgate a little bit, they're like, that's nice. Great shots. No idea what it's about, And I was like, okay, that's good.
One of the biggest stories in crypto.
I know, but the thing that I realized is they don't have the context. So I was like, all right, I take it as a challenge. I'm like, all right, I got it. Let's go. So The next step is really, broaden the story so that I can ease you in. And even this 5.5 minute one, because we have other episodes that are like near completion in the edit. We're in post. We're partially in post. We're partially in production. I'm like, okay, I know we're going to be able to bring somebody all the way through, keep them engaged, make it understand why this matters to them. But, even in this very short canvas of 5.5 minutes, I'm like, okay, I'm trying to do a better job of the storytelling of why this matters to you. Like, what is that resonance? So anyways, I think it's a big task to explain this to somebody, and not everybody's equipped to explain this to their family. Jump in. Let me tell you why XLS 30 is going to be great.
No, 100%. It's extremely hard. It's extremely hard to explain to someone that has no knowledge about the digital asset space, what's actually happening behind the scenes. I made about a 30-minute video the other day on YouTube trying to explain to people with actual sources from panel discussions and systemically important people talking about how there is an attack on crypto right now, how individual representatives from the Biden administration, like Elizabeth Warren, they're projecting information to the masses like that crypto is used for illicit market purposes, and that information will air on a platform like CNBC or Fox News, when in reality, behind the scenes, these regulators are actually trying to enlighten and tell people that, hey, crypto and illicit market transactions are actually only like not even 1% of the digital asset ecosystem, and the vast majority of illicit transactions and terrorist financing and stuff like that is actually cash.
US dollars, man.
Yeah, US dollars. And so it's like
Escobar's measuring his money in pounds, not in numbers,
It's crazy. It's crazy the narrative that's being pumped to the masses. And so, a platform like the one that you guys are bringing to people with this documentary, it's really good. And I'm excited to see how it comes out. It's really going to be an awakening and eye-opening to a lot of people.
Man, likewise. And I've been watching you guys on X, since I was involved in the film, and I've just been seeing you guys travel, I believe, to Alaska, Texas. Can you share some of that, like some of the journey of traveling all over the planet, and were there maybe any challenges that you guys encountered? I just know if I was in Alaska, I probably would have only lasted like 30 minutes there, because like I don't do well with cold, bro. So yeah, man. But yeah, I don't know. Let us know.
Yeah, I mean, you got to go where the story is, and you got to go where people are. I mean, there is something to be said about Los Angeles. It's an incredible city, and it's bad and it's good. But from a filmmaker's perspective, what Los Angeles has is infinite choices, right? A lot of places I can go. When we shot with you, Aquaman, we rented an incredible home in the Hollywood Hills with this really good vibe about it. It wasn't like ostentatious or anything. It was just like, wow, this is like a Bali style, good vibes, good energy place. So I part of it, as they say in the film business, is like put the money on the screen, not behind the screen. So while everything looks great on screen, my crew and I are staying at the Holiday Inn or in a cabin with no bathroom in it, which is what we were doing in Alaska. But everything is on screen because we want to make sure that the quality is there. So, you got to follow where people are. In the case of some folks, even were like, hey, we're happy to come to Los Angeles. I said, no, I'll come to you because, I want the chance to shoot in your office or your house, or depending on where you're at, curate an environment that's I try to curate the environment that matches the vibe of the people, right? So when we're up in Alaska and we're shooting in a yurt on a nonprofit that, helps veterans, I'm like, this is a great vibe. I got huskies out the window, that are barking. We're going on dog sleds, and that's cool. And amazing that the crypto universe reaches out to all these corners, and so they just kind of go where the story takes us. We go where the story is, and try to coordinate travel and make it efficient for everyone. And, on the docket, we're going to head back down to Arizona later this month to shoot at the Warrior Academy Summit. Coach JV has been very kind to let us record his big, annual summit he does with his audience. And we're going to be at XRP Las Vegas, and we're still in production. So it's not done yet. And if there are other, institutions, I wouldn't be surprised if we end up in New York at some point and recorded a bunch of, kind of traditional banking folks and Wall Street folks. You never know. It's kind of an adventure. Honestly, it's exciting to travel around.
I think my favorite set that you guys got was that Batman cave. That Batman cave was just so dope.
I know exactly what you guys are talking about. I saw that and I was like, that's awesome that they booked that place. It's pretty cool. Yeah.
That goes back to the whole thing about Los Angeles having a lot of options, right? So then you're like, well, I need a set. Like if I want to shoot in New York, I gotta shoot here in Los Angeles. I just go to Warner Brothers and do that. It's about money. But yeah, the Batman cave was cool. I just wanted to get in the second half of filming, I noticed in our visual language that we were really tight. We had a lot of like interviews, and I just wanted to start opening up the cinematography. So I was like, I need more space. I want more area. And so when we were explaining these, like we were doing like these explainer sections, I wanted to do like a lot of motion graphics and stuff. I thought it'd be cool to be in like a void of some kind, so I just start looking for that kind of stuff, and then you find like Batman cave, perfect, and let's go do it.
Facts, dude.
Very
now
nice.
you've interviewed some really, really smart individuals in the space that have really big platforms, some people coming out exposing ETHgate. Can you tell us, Chris, maybe like how have your personal perspectives on digital assets, particularly XRP, evolved throughout, interviewing everybody? Like has it changed or has it stayed the same? Are you getting, clarification from some of these individuals? Yeah, let us know.
Yeah, I mean, I think obviously it would drastically change the course of the project if I came across something as I was peeling the onion back that made me worried, that I was like, oh shoot, what is this? If anything, everything I've found has led me to be even more confident in the way I've invested. I'm like, wow, okay, this is like really solid, especially as you move your way from tertiary commentators, and don't take that the wrong way, but like people who make their living by commentating on what's happening, versus people who are maybe like attorneys. I look at them as like secondary sources. They're sort of adjacent to the thing. So, going from like hearing influencers talk about John Deaton to talking to John Deaton.
It's different, completely different.
To talking to Stephen Narioff, who's in the room with Vitalik. Like you go 1, 2, 3, and hopefully one day, soon talking to Brad and David about their, about the company. It's always led me to be even more confident in the ecosystem and feel really excited about all the utilities. And I can't wait to talk. We have a few companies already lined up that are doing real things, that are running technologies into the blockchain that solve real world problems in the spaces of, financial investments. And my goal is just to always keep that relatable, right? Because if you weren't already playing in the financial markets, understanding how crypto is going to shake that up is even more difficult, right? If you weren't already buying stocks, or didn't already have an ETF, or you didn't already have a solid 401k or IRA or whatever it is, you might not grasp all of those things. So that's why I'm trying to build that up, help you understand it, and then talk to companies that are building real world solutions in those different spaces. But just to simply answer your question, the more I talk to these folks, the more I'm like, this is exciting.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
can completely relate to what you're saying. Not obviously, of course, in the form of making a documentary, but in the early days of my investing career, you kind of come into this space with this euphoric mindset, like you're going to become a multimillionaire overnight. I experienced some very significant appreciation of capital over the course of my investing career. But like the more you dig into what these digital assets are about to do for the global financial system and the way that we move value and the way that we transact peer to peer with each other, the more you start to realize, holy crap, there's something bigger than just the appreciation of these digital assets. It's more about the transformation of every sector around like everything. It's seriously mind blowing. The more I read documents, the more I do research, the more I stop paying attention to what's being pumped out to the mainstream, and I watch these panel discussions of these large financial institutions, of these regulators, of these systemically important organizations. Like, it's not hard to go watch a United Nations summit where they talk about blockchain, artificial intelligence, cryptocurrency being the next big thing, and that it's going to take time. One thing that's really changed in the form of my perspective is how long this is all actually going to take. A lot of people come into this space and they think it's going to happen this year or next year. And when in reality, it's going to be a transformative process over the next couple of years until 2030 and beyond. Like this transformation that we're in the brink of experiencing, the fourth industrial revolution, it's going to be something that we live through over the course of the next 10 to 20 business years. And it's going to be monumental. It's going to be seriously revolutionary. Like I mentioned this a couple seconds ago, there's going to be a set of people that participated and a set of people that are going to have to catch up.
Facts. And dude, yesterday you mentioned it's not going to happen until probably after 2030. Yesterday, I locked up some XRP in escrow on my Zayman wallet. So yeah, man, I'm giving myself no other option but to hold out. So Chris, can you share maybe like a specific example or a specific conversation that you may have had that you're just never going to forget, that's just really touched your heart or made you like, oh wow, like just anything from anybody that's just you feel like you're never going to forget this moment?
Yeah, I mean, I think obviously I asked some questions that are boilerplate, and just to kind of see how's that question going to be answered like across multiple people. And then there's obviously questions I ask that are more specific to that person's expertise or area. But one thing that always sticks with me is just the same way we started this whole interview, which is, how did you get into doing this? Like, why are you talking about crypto full time, or what is it that got you into the crypto industry? And the persons whose story stands out the most is actually Digital Asset Investor, or also known as DAI in the space. Sometimes referred to as a Twitter sleuth, sometimes referred to as a X researcher or crypto researcher, or call him what you want. But his story was, obviously, like some people like John Deaton. I had read his book prior to meeting him, so his story's freaking insane. Okay, so I'm not going to take away from John Deaton's story. But Dai's story was very earnest. It was so like honest, and it was just about him growing up in a world where his dad was a entrepreneur. He built houses for a living. He always saw his dad as like just this hero, like hardworking guy, and how they just got wrecked by the 2008 financial collapse. And the fact that this guy built a good business, like that's what's, I think, inspirational about America, is the entrepreneurial spirit. Like that's the part where I get patriotic. It's like, you had an idea, you did the work, you grind it out, you built a business, it's a family business, whatever it is, right? And then the government decided, nah, not for you. I'm going to pick a different company. And that is where that was stuck with me, because, you know, Dai was very emotional about that time for his family, what that meant for his family, what it meant for his father, how they came through that, how they survived through it, watching friends and family struggle. And that was a 2008 financial collapse. So don't get, I mean, the COVID thing was also a whole nother scenario where you could arguably say we went through something similar there.
Yeah.
So that story really stuck with me, because of you could see the pain on him, of how this person who you put on a pedestal, your father, who's a hero, in his case, good for him, having a good father. And then seeing that the government kind of through its regulation and how it decided, rather than letting the market decide, it decided which banks stayed, which banks go, how the money was going to flow, and it crushed them. And they came back from it because they had grit and they made it happen. But I watched that pain on that, and I've heard many stories that are similar to that. But those are the kind of things that really stick with me. The other things that stick with me is when, you know, we had the opportunity to go to Alaska and film up there at Battle Dogs, which is a nonprofit that helps veterans. And a couple of people in the ARC Institute are veterans. Patrick L. Riley's a veteran, Greg's a veteran. And veterans got a lot of stuff, man. They have a lot of stuff down inside, especially people who have been out and seen things. And you feel that come up, you know, when they're talking about, not that they go, what I find with veterans, I'm friends with a few as well, like they don't go there, and I know not to ask as well, right, with certain things. But when they tell their stories, you see the weight that they carry, you know.
100%.
You can see it in their eyes. And so, you know, I let them go wherever they're going to want to talk about, but I never push them. Right. But those are the things that stand with me, is when people have experienced big things and the weight is there inside, and you feel it on their heart and on their soul. That's what's relatable, you know. That's what. And Dai was, you know, after he did his thing, he's like, don't put this on camera, you know. Oh my God, the people are gonna make fun of me, you know, whatever. I'm like, no one's gonna make fun of you, man.
No one's gonna make fun of you.
No one's gonna make fun of you. We all we feel it. It's real.
Yeah. Yeah, I myself, I'm a veteran. I was in the military for 5.5 years, Army. But I, you know, hearing you say that, just talking about entrepreneurship, it's like we live in such a very interesting time right now where everybody is so, they're in this phase right now where they're complaining about the system, inflation's high, they're complaining about jobs, this, and that. When in reality, with every single crisis comes with it the seed of an equivalent opportunity, and so like. You know, from the 2019 COVID crisis and whatnot, and this digital transformation, like entrepreneurship from your home really became a really great thing that you could capitalize on if you have initiative, if you have ambition, if you have the willpower to take responsibility into your own hands and take advantage of the system, right? Like you said, being in America, like if you are an American citizen or really in any jurisdiction, at the end of the day, there's not really any jurisdiction discrepancy. You can really take advantage of what you believe in and push that and build something from that if you just don't give up and you believe in yourself. So I think that's really cool to hear that's how DI started this whole entire thing, because at the end of the day, you know, I'm sure that many of us entrepreneurs can relate to that in the same way, is that we started from having something stripped away from us, whether it was some type of catastrophic event or some type of realization, some type of awakening. For me, when I got out of the military in 2017, I was like, I'm tired of listening to people that are the same age as me give me orders and boss me around, when in reality I could take initiative and take advantage of my own life and put things in my own perspective, in my own hands, and go full throttle and lead people and guide people into the light. And now here we are. I'm sitting on an interview with an individual that's involved in this space in a way that I never thought I'd be involved in. So it's really cool to see it all come to fruition.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. Chris, if you don't mind, who have you interviewed? I feel like I know of like maybe a handful of people, but can you give the people who are watching as well, who are some of the most notable individuals that are going to be in the documentary?
Yeah, I mean, we're still obviously building that roster out, but you know, some of the things that stand out, obviously John Deaton, you know, talking about someone who represented the retail investors, Stephen Narioff, who's, you know, been on a press tour to talk about ETHgate and his times with Vitalik and Consensus and so on. I think that talking with developers directly, you know, having a chance to talk with Sologenic and talk with Patrick L. Riley or developers on the XRPL ecosystem. Obviously talking to a myriad of influencers. So, Coach JV and, talking to yourself and several others that are in that space. Having one of the interviews that stands out in my mind is Jake Clavers, who's Digital Ascension Group. He's extremely knowledgeable about financial systems, gave fantastic explanations about the whole history of the Federal Reserve. We covered that in the first episode, how we went on the gold, off the gold standard, and everything else. In fact, just a little fun fact, but on my bookshelf in the other room, I carry on there 3 coins that are in a row. One of them is a Roman coin to remind you that no currency is forever. And the second is a gold-backed coin, the last issued in the United States. Actually, my grandmother gave it to me, and they're somewhat rare because the government bought them all back, right? So I have one of those. And then the third coin is a digital representation or physical representation of XRP. So it's just a reminder of past, present, and future, right? Mm-hmm. Anyways, talking to the folks from Vahill Capital, Jimmy Valley and Molly Elmore, incredibly, she's just so smart and explains so many things so clearly. And Scott Minette, who we haven't featured his interview yet, but he talked about the digitization of commodities. So I had a chance to read through all of Vahill's white papers on outside of the evaluation models, because one thing I'll say is we're not putting evaluation models in the documentary at all. We're just putting in information about how the blockchain is evolving, but I'm not trying to say, oh, it's going to go to this price or anything like that. But there are really fascinating thoughts that the folks at Vahill have about how the tokenization of assets, specifically of rare earth minerals and other things, would work. That's really interesting, I think, for an audience. So there's digital, obviously on the sleuth side, digital asset investor, digital perspectives. We interviewed Nerd Nation, who's one of the faceless sleuths, and we're working on getting other folks from the space to chat about the whole, the whole ETHGate situation, which is one part of the documentary, not the whole thing, certainly. So I think some of the most exciting things are on the horizon too. Constantly working on getting Ripple to come talk with us, and
that would be interesting. That would be very interesting.
Get David there, get Brad there, maybe get Stu there. So we've interviewed 30 plus people. I didn't give you the full roster, but and we're continuing to work on that.
Sweet. Real quick. Real quick. I just want to, we have 631 listeners viewing this live stream right now. So if you all just wouldn't mind doing us a favor, each of us, go follow Fruition Productions over on the X Space. You can literally just type in their @handle @Fruition Productions. Go follow Mr. Aquaman. And then also those of you all listening, if you want to view some of our previous live streams or share these live streams with your friends and family members, head over to the CyberX Rumble platform @CyberX Uncensored. Follow us there, and that way you can watch these uploads and any of our previous podcasts that we've had with previous guests. And obviously, of course, support our channel and our platform so that way you don't miss a beat on any of our up-and-coming podcasts that are going to be airing every single Friday at 10:30 a.m. Pacific. So just shout out to you all listening. Over 640 people tuned into this live stream. Really appreciate you all for coming out. Let's continue this very interesting conversation with Chris from Fruition Productions and our co-host, Mr. Aquaman.
Yes, sir. So Chris, were there any unexpected revelations that came or discoveries that emerged during any of your interviews that blew your mind?
Well, I mean, trying to detangle the regulatory environment is pretty complicated to do. So I think I'm always impressed by the level of details, but that's also a challenge, so you kind of have to decide how far down the rabbit hole are you going to go. So, people just keep opening doors. I'm
it gets sticky too, because you could dabble into some stuff that could get you in trouble if you talk about it to a certain degree.
Certainly, and there are rules. I mean, there are certain rules I'm allowed to talk. I mean, not to say that there's anyone controlling my narrative, but from a legal perspective, there are certain things I just can't get into, right? And so defamation's a real thing, right? So you got to be careful. And there's still things that, when we go to what's called errors and omissions and talk with our entertainment lawyer about, finalizing the doc and its edit, even how much of, each type of thing we use, We just have to be, we have to follow the rules that are there. Doesn't mean anything about the content per se, other than like, you just can't slander someone without evidence, right? So obviously there's always the art form of taking the best bits of interviews and then protecting against bits of the interviews that I can't use for various reasons, for what people might be saying there. And so I think that, we're still kind of refining and simplifying that story, making it as easy as possible to follow the trail, the breadcrumbs of here's how the regulatory industry went after Ripple. And here are the facts of the case. Here's what they said they did. Here's how they acted in precedents before that, because a lot of times law is based on precedents. So you kind of look at, well, this is how they talked about the DAO hack. And they said, oh, we would never go back to doing, we'll kind of forgive everything prior to the DAO hack. And then lo and behold, a few years later, they bring out the Ripple lawsuit and they go all the way back before the DAO hack. So like, okay, you're not consistent in how you approach things. That's what we found out there. And then there's a lot of, regulatory capture. That's just a fancy word for basically collusion, or another fancy word for just like lobbying. And that is something that anybody who's ever done any research by the government knows that is how every part of the government pretty much operates. Lobbyist groups from Lockheed Martin or from you name it in the military industrial complex, getting their dollars. I heard someone once call policy is really just the application of printed money. So, when you're putting policies around, you're really just deciding where money is going to go. And a lot of politicians are bought off. And so I don't think that's unique in any government really. And so finding the stories there about the specifics of how money flowed from certain organizations into government, regulatory agencies, and make that verifiable via the documents we have, which were pulled from Freedom of Information Acts, and making that a tangible story. That's really the great challenge, I guess, of the center part of this documentary. But I don't want anybody to get tripped up and to focus too much on that. Yeah, conflict is good for storytelling, but there are obviously other things that we're talking about outside of that conflict, which is basically, once we get that out of the way in the story, then we're like, and this is now out of the way, pretty much, the lawsuit's coming to a close. We're moving now into the future with developers and looking at where we're going to go next. So that's kind of my quick, abbreviation of like, what am I most amazed by is just that continuous well of knowledge and learning how deep in the pool I want to go. Sometimes I go deeper than I want to go and I come back up.
Yeah. Sometimes when you dig into that topic particularly, it's like, it doesn't really matter what side of the coin you fall on. It's like, you can tell if you have some type of common sense that something is happening behind the scenes, regardless of how deep down the rabbit hole you want to dig. It's very simplistic to see that there's some type of agenda being pushed to the masses, something different happening behind the scenes. Now, regardless of where you pull your information from to solidify certain things, it's like, it's clear as day there's an attack on the industry as a whole. Ripple definitely got the bad end of the stick.
Yeah.
Now to what degree that is too, at the end of the day, there's only a certain onset of people that can really put their finger on it, but it doesn't take anybody with a little bit of common sense to figure out like, okay, there's definitely something bigger picture happening here. And if I could just put my 2 cents on it, plain and simple, the private sector caught the public sector off guard, and the public sector, i.e. the central banks, the government organizations, the systemically important groups of this world, weren't going to let that slip. And so, they did everything in their power via their regulatory power to halt installed adoption because they saw things getting out of hand. The private sector figured out a way to make peer-to-peer transactions without central authorities, and they weren't going to let that slip. And so whatever way that comes to you, regardless if you believe it or not, it's a fact. And now we're dealing with the repercussions. And I think that the people that hold on long term to this particular digital asset, again, not financial advice, if everything comes out in our favor, and you miss out on this opportunity, it will be life-changing if we are correct. If everything that researchers and people that are heavily embedded into the XRP and digital asset community, especially in the form of researching utility assets, if we are correct, think about that opportunity. It's going to be monumental in the next couple of years. And like I keep saying, you're either going to be on the right side or the wrong side, and the people that are on the wrong side, you're going to be looking at all the people on the right side calling us lucky, when in reality it was just simplistic, logical understanding of the way that the world is headed.
For sure. And I think when you look at like Brad Garlinghouse's past public statements, because we've basically indexed all of them. And from the very beginning, he was like, I want to work with regulators. Hey, regulators, can I work with you? How can we work with you? And I'm like, what's the problem here? You know what I mean? Like, why are they ignoring this guy? He's like CEO of a company that's legit. Like, come on, man. And then they move forward with stuff, because what are you going to do? Just do nothing? Like, not operate as a business for a long time? And then they come after them after the fact. It's just like, and while meanwhile giving certain other entities just like, oh yeah, they're fine. These two are fine, but this guy's not fine. It's just, it goes to the theme that Dai was talking about the government picking winners and losers. It's like, I like entrepreneur, like the market should really decide that, you know? Like,
Well, yeah, it's also crazy too that in other major jurisdictions all across the globe, it's like they have their ish together. Like, it's not hard in other jurisdictions, for example, in Asia or in Japan, as an example, where XRP, the digital asset, and Ripple can operate this like clear as day. That's like what they're doing the right thing. They classified XRP as a non-security very early on, and it's like America's just, it's clear as day that there's something. Again, I'm not here to pinpoint what that is, but anybody with common sense can see that there's something fishy going on.
Yeah.
You know, to what extent you believe that might be too, I'm not here to debate, but it's clear as day. Other major jurisdictions have their ish together and America doesn't. And America's history, based off of past circumstances, clearly states that there's usually an agenda behind situations like this when things aren't operating as smooth as they could be.
right.
That's facts, man. That's super facts.
You know?
Now, Chris, this originally started off as just going to be a documentary, right? And now it's gotten so big that you've had to turn it into a docu-series, correct?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, there's too much. There's too much to put in a small format. And also, you know, bingeable content. Like, it's fine to have it in separate silos. I think the runtime would just get too long for like a feature length documentary. There's just too much to talk about, and I don't want to feel rushed. I don't want to cut anybody short. So just increase the canvas, and that way you get more coverage. And that's standard these days too. Lots of documentaries are limited series. Lots of documentaries are 4, 5, 6 episodes. You know, and then you watch it, and you have the opportunity to keep watching, or just, I'm good, take a break here, whatever. I think it's fine.
Yeah. How many parts do you know? How many parts they're going to be in this series?
Yeah, I mean, that's a moving target, but I think somewhere between 5 and 6 parts. We have a structure for it. It just, you know, a little bit of it is, have we thoroughly cut? I'm not like, in the edit, you build set sequences, and then, you know, we know how it's all laid out in a big picture. But, you know, it's not like arbitrary. I'm going to like, I have to fill up 6 episodes no matter what.
10 episodes.
Right. Yeah. There's not really a number like that. I mean,
yeah,
more about making sure that we've told the story. It's tight, but not overwhelming. But also not like, you know, when I say tight, it just doesn't ramble. Right. So
yeah,
we're finding that balance right now. I think our episodes will be somewhere between like 30 and 50 minutes long, depending on the episode. We might go a little long on the ETHgate episode because there's so much there, but I'm just trying to silo it and give it topics. And of course, do what you do in the entertainment biz, give you a tantalizing cliffhanger that makes you like, oh, I'm going to watch
it.
Yeah,
makes you want to come back. Yeah, you got to come back. Yeah. That's the way to do it.
You know?
I said a second ago, you know, you guys are, you know, regardless of viewers of your documentary believe in the digital asset XRP or not, we're still in this process, this evolutionary process where like things that you all are doing, you and Maya are going to set the pace for the next billion users. It's going to be a part of that onboarding process, regardless if people support the digital asset or not. When they watch your documentary, crypto will be in the back of their mind. Blockchain and this digital asset ecosystem will be in the back of their mind, and they'll start to do research and hopefully enlighten themselves on utility. And it'll just be a really good spiral effect moving forward in the future. I think it's great what you guys are doing.
Yeah, man. Chris, how do you envision the impact of this documentary, just like on the broader understanding and perception of cryptocurrency? You feel like you're going to be really answering that question to the masses? And
100%. I mean, it's part of the motivation of doing the project, right? Being frustrated by the way that crypto was represented, because I think a lot of the bad bubbles up faster than the good. So, you know, it's like these people are all, for example, let me give you a key example here. The This Is Not Financial Advice premiere was sponsored by the Gambling Addiction Hotline of America. Okay. So that tells you
Interesting.
we'll call it the subliminal messaging, and they're on an education tour all around the country. And I felt like that documentary sort of left me with like a very bad taste in my mouth. It was beautifully shot, by the way. Like I don't have anything against the filmmakers. The visuals were nice, but the story was like, this guy is dumb. Like the Dogecoin millionaire is dumb because like he did this whole thing where they, tracked his price going up and down, like how much money did he have in his wallet. And then everyone's like, oh my God, he has $3 million. And then like he lost it all, right? And the audience is like, can't believe it. So I think that, for me, I want to basically showcase, look, there's a broader picture here going on, right? There's something wrong that everybody is sensing. Inflation is kind of moving at an unprecedented rate. Interest rates are highest they've been in modern times. People who are older will remember the 80s where they were higher, but those of us who are born in the 80s don't remember that time. But now here we are living in a new time like that. And so I feel like it's important for us to showcase this giant quantum financial transformation that's happening in the background. And the irony of it, I do feel like in some cases would be that the whole transformation could take place and people won't notice it. They won't know.
100%. 100%.
It'll just happen and they miss the train. So I would rather open the door for the folks and say, look over there, do your own thing. I've laid out all the information I can, the best information I can find. Go look over there and read up on this, because I find it interesting. Like, I think I heard some Morgan and Stanley, don't quote me on this, some like traditional investment firm was like, 2, 3, 4 years ago, they're like, absolutely not. Don't touch crypto. Every financial advisor, real financial advisor,
Now they flip.
Do not touch that. Then they were like, put 1%.
Yeah.
And put 1%. And now all of a sudden they're like, oh, maybe some percentage. You know what I mean? Like they're starting to like come along. And I'm like, those of us who have been in it are like, okay, even if you're not investing in it like yourself, you're getting your own wallet and holding custody, and that's all good and well. Even if you're just like sitting there and your Vanguard is starting to now buy a Bitcoin ETF eventually, that's fascinating unto itself. So you should know where that's going. And the impact I'm hoping to drive is just broader awareness, lay it out so that any person could understand it and that at least be aware of it. First step is just awareness, right? If you have no awareness of it, then, you don't even know you have a problem and you don't even know, you're not looking for a solution to it.
Mm-hmm.
So that's in classic marketing, right? People who are on YouTube watching this, they've already decided in their mind, like there's something bothering me right now. And I want to go at least hear what these folks have to say about it. And try to like you said, Aquaman, like find a vibe for the channel that seems to have the right energy for you. And then hopefully, you do your own due diligence about whatever you hear that person tell you. But at that point, you've already got that. I'm trying to go before that. Like you don't even know yet what's going on other than like, maybe you've heard a little something about Bitcoin. I'm trying to bring that audience over to where we are, and giving them knowledge about where the whole quantum financial system or the whole crypto ecosystem is going.
A lot of people don't even care though. Like some people, as long as their payment, like how you were talking about, a shift is going to happen behind the scenes and people aren't going to know about it. Some people just don't care. You think people care that their Visa transaction and how after they swipe their card at Starbucks, how that whole entire process works behind the scenes? They don't care. As long as they can make their payment and buy their latte at Starbucks and go home and enjoy it, they don't care. And it's going to be the same way in crypto and blockchain. But the people that are tapped in and we're like, oh, well, back in the year 2000, we could have invested into Wi-Fi or Bluetooth technology and become multi millionaires, potentially even billionaires. Well, that opportunity is on the precipice of happening again, where the financial system behind the scenes, the infrastructure, the layer that processes all these payments, and is responsible for all these global transactions is shifting, is migrating, and that's trillions to quadrillions of dollars over to blockchain and distributed ledger technology. I'm sorry, but that interests me, and there's going to be a certain set of people that your documentary speaks to. There's going to be, probably 2 out of 10 people that watch your documentary that open up some Google and they're like, oh, wow, so
that's fine. Yeah. And I think I've heard the sentiment, like some people have told me, I'm too late. Like the bull run already happened. I'm like, what? No.
Yeah.
It is the year 1995 and the internet has not been born yet. Okay. Like that's where we're at right now. Like the internet is about to be born, Web3 or whatever. We're right before the wave. We haven't caught it yet. We're not even riding it yet. It's barely.
We haven't even seen the purge yet. We haven't even seen the massive purge yet, where regulations come in and we really see which coins survive and which coins don't. Just saying.
There's a lot of factors that haven't happened yet, and just the fact that the big giants are starting to get their cursory introduction to investing in Bitcoin. Those big institutions are the same journey all of us had. They start with Bitcoin and then they move their way over. To other things.
Well, some research that I've done a lot is that I watch a lot of bank discussions and panel discussions from these large organizations, and a lot of the people on these panel discussions, they say that they're not invested outside of digital assets like Bitcoin and Ethereum because they just don't have the knowledge on it. They literally just don't have the persons at their organization giving them information. They don't have blockchain experts and crypto experts at their organizations. But if you look, what's happening, just like you said, they're starting to hire people, cryptographers from crypto native companies and blockchain companies to come and work at their organizations to present this information to their employees. And from there, it'll be a trickle effect. They'll be like, oh, there's all these options. It's not just Bitcoin and Ethereum. And they too, in the financial landscape, will have an enlightenment phase where they're like, oh, it's not just Bitcoin and XRP, because same thing that's been projected to the masses, that crypto's a scam and crypto's bad and used for illicit purposes, is the same thing that's being projected to these bank and financial institutions. I promise you that. If you think for 1 second that crypto being a bad sector and a very volatile sector hasn't been projected to the banking system, it has been. But they're in the cusp of enlightenment themselves, where they're like, oh, this could actually enhance our back-end systems. We could actually make T+0 settlements, using these digital assets on these blockchain infrastructures. Oh, as long as we can mitigate risk properly and we can handle customer and client funds properly, then we could definitely use this tech. And we're on the precipice of that happening.
I mean, I think that's the challenge right there is T0 plus settlements. Why do I care about that if I can't pay my rent?
Yeah.
And I think it's understanding that the T0 settlements situation is an opportunity for you, right? It's not your problem. I don't have the problem of settling my stuff instantaneously, but the industry does. And there lies the opportunity, right? They are trying to solve a multi-trillion-dollar problem, and that's one of many problems that blockchain is going to solve. And so why should you care about that? Because that is an opportunity, a business opportunity, or really just an opportunity for you to get involved with an asset that's going to do something like that. And it's not your problem, but you can be part of the solution of it, or own. I should say it's kind of like owning stock, basically. Like you're owning a part of that solution, and it's solving real world problems for major institutions, which these are trillions of dollars in problems that these companies have. So that's where I always try to like make it relevant. And why do you care? And this is why,
Yeah, I look at it as friction. There's a lot of friction in the system, and you have the opportunity to own a piece of something that's going to make that friction less frictionless, if that makes sense. You get what I'm saying? Like,
the efficiency of that.
Yeah, man. Now, Chris, just back to the documentary. What's left? What do you have left, or what's the timeline of getting this project completed?
Yeah, I mean, so those of you, everyone probably has like some idea of filmmaking and everything. So obviously we're still in production. So production, we're moving around, we're filming at Warrior Academy later this month. We're filming at XRP Las Vegas. So for anybody who's interested in going to that event and wants to lend their voice to the documentary, we will be there recording. We'll also have an interview booth there. And we're still working on a few interviews. So getting those, it's kind of like as we get to each new stage in the documentary and we've shown a little bit more, it helps build trust in the community and also in like traditional institutions. So like, oh, okay, this looks, if I'm again, I'm not Martin Scorsese. I'm not like somebody coming in with like a huge reputation of filmmaking. And so showing the work as it evolves and showing the quality we're shooting at and what we're making helps Ripple and other big institutions. But, oh, you know what? Okay, cool. We get the vibe. Like, I understand what you're doing. Like you're trying to make a high quality thing that would fit in with any other, you know, high quality documentary on one of the streaming platforms. So what's really next for me is, number one, secure Ripple, you know, get them on board. I'd love to have their answers, you know, even if curated questions, I don't care. I just love to have the direct opportunity to speak with them. You know, we're doing this without their coordination necessarily directly right now, talking to the community and different people there, but we'd love to have them, you know, come in. So for anybody who thinks I'm shilling XRP, I wish they were paying me, but they're not. You know, everything's been me just paying myself. My wife and I just investing in the project because we believe in it. The second thing is getting some of those additional industry folks. So we had just started on the developer side. So we had recorded with Sologenic, we recorded with Patrick O'Reilly, and I asked the community, I said, hey, who do you want to see? You know, I got kind of beat up in an X space I shouldn't have probably been in, but I took the feedback critically. I was like, I went in X space, I got beat up, but I was like, you know what? Cool. You know, there's two types of feedback. You know, when people are critical on X, but it's like for a legit reason. Are you concerned you're going to lead people down the wrong path, whatever? I'll respond to that. Like, you know what? That's a good concern. I don't want to lead people down the wrong path. I don't want to misguide people and provide like financial analysis or anything. I'm not doing that. And then there's, you know, profanity. There's just like, you're a beep, 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 and your wife is a beep, beep, beep. And I'm like, for that person, goodbye. You're blocked. You know, we're not going to have a relationship.
The fact that they're going out of their way and that upset over just this topic in general just speaks loudly to their character. And I must say, I was in one of your lives and I got to witness some of the attacks on you. And man, you handled it like a G, bro. You handled it very respectfully. I actually took some notes. I was like, damn, I don't know if I was handle it that well, man, because they were coming for your neck, bro. But
they tried.
Yeah, man.
I'm not easily ruffled, so it's okay. But I will say this, like where we are is basically we want to continue to reach out to the community. So production's still going, and we're still filming. We want to be pretty much done filming in May. Like we don't want to film past May, right? Because then begins the next journey, which I'm already simultaneously while I'm filming, I'm also in post-production. What does that mean? That means I'm sitting with my editor. We have a hypothesis about where everybody fits in, how everything goes. But sometimes new information comes and you got to change your strategy and you got to kind of move. Oh, that's an interesting train of thought. So we're constructing, you know, the narrative. And then after you get everything tight on the narrative, there's, you know, a series of revisions, iterations, tightening down. Then there's graphics. So putting in motion graphics and lower thirds. And then there's color correction, making everything look super sharp, super good. Everybody's looking the best possible. Then there's music selection, you know, so there's so many things that happen. Even when I'm done shooting, there's months of, you know, a couple months worth of work. But I've said multiple times, we're still on the schedule to be done, you know, with everything in June. Like that's my goal. You know, if we go quiet for a while, it's because I'm doing those things. I'll probably post about them. Hey, we're in the editing room and we're working on this. You know, it's not going to be a new trailer every 2 weeks, right? I think this latest one we put out is representational of the, you know, closer representational to the final product. So we probably won't put anything else out now until we like finish everything and get onto a streaming platform and say, okay, here's the official trailer. And we just want to try to do the best job possible to make everything make sense. So that's where we're at, is financial regulators capturing the folks that are doing amazing development projects or big institutions. That's my next ring of people I want to talk with, kind of increase the panel. And what I've noticed is the more I do interviews, the more people I add to the documentary, the stronger it gets in terms of the quality of the narrative and bringing in that Stanford, you know, even theorists, right? A Stanford crypto expert, you know, who teaches finance. That's great. We want that. We want that commentary. And people, I often say, you know, people are going to choose their hero when they watch it. There's always somebody you gravitate towards in a story. I find myself always doing that. I'm like, okay, that dude's my dude, and I'm on that journey with him. But
That's
somebody
cool.
else might be like, I hate that dude. I don't know
I don't
why
even
he
like
does.
his face. I don't even
I
like
hate everything about him. I need somebody over here. And some people are more like spiritual in nature. Some people are very analytical in nature. That's fine. I'm trying to basically give you this is where diversity is great, because I'm trying to give you a nice spectrum of people, and men and women and of all different backgrounds, with different expertise and experiences, so that you kind of find your hero in that, and we get through to you. If it's about awareness, I have to reach through the screen and say, this is why this matters, and keep you engaged with the information. So that's kind of where we are in terms of production and process. And then after that, you take it. We're in conversations and working on getting streaming platforms, streaming partners there, so we can sell the project, get it out there into the universe. But it's a lengthy process, like I mentioned, in typical filmmaking, it can be years. Projects can go on for years. We're not moving on that timeline. I got the gas on the accelerator. This story has to come out this year, but don't underestimate the effort necessary to finish it, and to make it great.
What's like the best case scenario? Let's just say everything gets completed perfectly, editing's perfect, and then Netflix is like, you know what? Yeah, let's put this on our platform. Like,
let's manifest that. Yeah.
What's like a realistic timeline when everyone that's tapping in right now could really go to whatever platform it gets put on and go and watch it? Like, I don't know. It doesn't. I mean, this is not a guaranteed timeline, but I'm just
My perfect timeline would be basically like end of summer, early fall for it to land. I think it'd be a great time for it to land. That's also probably serendipitously sometime aligning with peak of the market, like after halving, maximum interest. I find it interesting. Some people are just so weird with timing. They're like, you're doing this now and XRP's not even mooned yet. I'm like, that's exactly why I'm doing it right now, because this is like the story is right now.
You don't want to do it. You don't want to do it after by any means.
Right now, because I have foresight. Right now is when the things are happening that are going to set up that future. But because I'm not worried about price, I'm not trying to do a documentary about crypto price. I'm doing a documentary about crypto application and utility. I think it's much more interesting for us to be shooting right now. What a time, right? I'm like in the middle of dropping a trailer and they're like, we have a stable coin. I'm like, oh my God, there's so many good things happening in 2024. So anyways, that's a long answer. Sorry, but I'm just trying to give you this.
I love it.
Perfect scenario comes out this fall, comes out late summer. Obviously when you sell it to a streamer, they got to like slot it, in their whole mix of things that they have, and you don't want to, you want to hopefully have its own little window. So it doesn't, we're dropping this other big documentary at the same time, like we got to try to figure out where it's going to go, but I have confidence we'll get there. I've always had faith in the project, faith in ourselves, and just got to, most of all, just grit, just keep grinding on it. And it gets better every time we shoot and we meet as a team and discuss it. By the way, we're 4 people. We're not like 100 people.
Yeah.
So, and 3 of which are fresh out of college. So it's not me, by the way. I'm not fresh out of college, but the others are.
I think it's really great that. Go ahead, Prince.
I was just going to say, I got to experience your team, and you guys are using high level, equipment.
Sure.
Everything was perfectly planned out, super professional. So what you guys are doing, I seen your grind firsthand. I was there. So keep doing what y'all are doing. And I just really see this documentary really becoming a big thing in the space.
I think it's really cool. I think it's really cool too, hearing from your perspectives, Chris, that you're not focused on the hype of the price, and the vast majority of XRP enthusiasts and also people outside of the XRP community looking in think everything's so focus oriented on $100, $1,000 XRP, and more so the documentary, after speaking to you on this interview, is definitely more oriented towards awareness and really bringing people's attention to not only the industry as a whole, but to what's going on behind the scenes via some of the things and perspectives from industry leading experts and so on and so forth. Real quick, before we start to wrap this call up, we have 834 listeners. So do us all a favor, go and follow Fruition Productions on the X Space. You can just type in their username Fruition Productions to find their profile. Go and give Mr. Aquaman a follow on the X Space as well. Obviously, of course, myself. And then head over, if you want to watch this recording or any of our other previous podcasts or any future podcasts, over to our Rumble platform at CyberX Uncensored, where we will be uploading this information so that way you can share it with your friends, with your family members, and enlighten them on some of the topics in which we discussed in today's video. So, Chris, it was absolutely phenomenal talking to you today. Mr. Aquaman, go ahead, brother.
No, I was gonna just ask if you wanted to share your screen, Cypress, and maybe we can show everyone the latest preview that he just dropped.
Yeah, I can. I just don't know if I don't know off the top of my head if it'll share audio, but give me 1 second.
Okay, no problem. No problem.
That was fun. We dropped that about midnight last night. And I was just like, we were editing up until midnight. I was like, give me the latest one. No, fix this, fix that. And then we just ran out of time. And then we were like, all right, let's give it a go.
It's this most recent pin message, correct?
Yeah. That's our latest one. Yeah. Exactly.
Okay. Yeah. So let's go ahead and run that. And just let me know if you guys, I don't know if you all will be able to hear it. So
yeah, I'll let you know.
If you can.
For sure.
I don't think we have audio. We would have.
Yeah, we definitely don't. It's all good.
You can go there and our handle is at Fruition_films. Unfortunately, Fruition Productions is too long for Twitter handles, so X handles. So, but you can find us Fruition Productions, and Fruition_films is where you can see all the updates. I'm very transparent about where we are, what's going on, and I will respond to you in comments as long as you don't call me a bleep and tell me to bleep off, and then I'll have a conversation with you. You can DM me as well to talk about your perspective in crypto. And again, I'm kind of in a place now where we're trying to move into more of the big institutions and interview them. So I do respect the community's opinion and everything, but at some point I do have to also put in we need folks that are developers and other diverse folks that are from different parts of segments. So those are really the folks I'm after, but I'm always open ear if you want to talk to me about something or a whole different project. There are other documentaries we're incubating beyond crypto, and that's also a possibility.
Well, sure. Absolutely. Yeah, it was absolutely phenomenal talking to you, Chris. Everybody listening, we really appreciate you all for tapping in. Obviously, of course, the Wealth 28 Lounge podcast, we air every single Friday with a new episode. We're going to attempt to bring you guys new guests every single week. However, if we don't get a guest on the show, you guys are going to be able to hear live discussions from myself and Mr. Aquaman. So make sure that you tune in every morning, 10:30 a.m. Pacific time. Friday, you can see the podcast live on X. We're going to figure out how to live stream the podcast on Rumble as well. So make sure that you go over and follow us on Rumble at CyberX Uncensored. We're thinking about changing the potential CyberX Uncensored Rumble over to the Wealth 28 Lounge podcast. Myself and Mr. Aquaman will discuss that moving forward. But blessings to you guys. It's so phenomenal to see over 800 people on this call. Really great to see you all come out. Chris, it was obviously, of course, an honor speaking to you, man. And I look forward to the documentary myself, being involved in XRP and just really knowing now after talking to you what you're doing for this space. I think it's phenomenal, man.
Yeah, I appreciate it. Thanks so much for having me on here. And thanks again to everyone watching. And I can't wait to show what we're making, and just give us a couple months. Got to finish it. It's a lot of work, but we're working on it.
Yeah, man. Sure. Thank you, Chris. And thank you for everyone who tapped in today. We really appreciate you guys for tapping in and just giving us your time today. So,
yeah, right. You guys take it easy. Everybody, blessings, and we'll see you guys on next week's episode.
All right, see you later.
Peace.
Yeah, man. All righty.
Bye. See ya.